Okay, good evening, ladies. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dawn Bear, and I'm with Voters East of the Industrial Canal. So we're just going to get started because it's kind of late, so let's get going. So please provide us your full name, your profession, the number of years in that profession, and what seat you are seeking. Ms. Bernadette D'Souza, we'll go with you first.
All right. Thank you so very much for the
Okay.
kind invitation to participate. My name is Judge Bernadette D'Souza, and I'm running for my re-election for Civil District Court, Domestic Section 1. I've been, over 26 years ago, I started my legal career at New Orleans Legal Assistance, which is now the Southeast Louisiana Legal Services. I've been on the bench for nearly 9 years now. And so I'm looking forward to continuing my service in helping the community.
Okay, thank you. Attorney Jefferson.
Yes. So good evening. My name is Lakeisha Jefferson. I am an attorney here in New Orleans. I actually was born and raised in New Orleans. October 10th will actually make 17 years that I have been practicing law. For the past 15 years, though, I have dedicated the bulk of my practice to representation of clients in the area of family law. So I have had a myriad of contract attorney positions that I believe have prepared me for this journey. I have worked for Southeast Louisiana Legal Services also as a contract attorney in the domestic unit. I also worked for Project SAVE, which is a public interest law group in New Orleans, where we advocated for victims of domestic violence to help them obtain emergency relief as well as protective orders. And I also was a prosecutor for the city of New Orleans as an assistant city attorney for almost 12 years, where I prosecuted offenders of domestic violence statutes. So I have varied qualifications and varied experience in the areas of civil as well as criminal law as they specifically relate to family law. So I have also my private practice that I started right after Hurricane Katrina. It's Jefferson Law Firm. And like I said, I primarily dedicated that to family law. And I have run that practice as a solo practitioner for the past 15 years.
Thank you very much. Okay, so what I'd like to do now is introduce you to our moderators. We have Donna Glapion and we have Brandon Gilmore, who's with You're Going to Feel Me podcast. So let's get started.
Good night, ladies. My first question for Mrs. D'Souza. Why do you think you should continue serving as judge?
I dedicated my entire legal career to helping families and working families in our community. I have the experience, the knowledge. I was a professor at Tulane Law School, teaching a course on domestic violence and the law. When I came to the bench nearly 9 years ago, I got involved with bringing resources to Civil District Court. The first resource that was available is the Self-Help Center with resources for litigants that come unrepresented before me. I subsequently partnered with Family Justice Center to bring on-site resources for domestic violence victims. Additionally, I have worked with the TCA to bring in a pilot program into my court to help fathers who are not able to pay child support to receive job training and then be gainfully employed so they can pay child support. The greatest joy that I've had in implementing the law to retrieve weapons from domestic violence perpetrators. I instituted that policy after making a finding of domestic violence, and eventually the legislature passed it as law. I have the compassion, the dedication, the experience, having worked in the trenches of New Orleans, helping families, providing free legal services for families that could not afford a lawyer. I've done that for over 18 years at Legal Services. I represented tenants in public housing, but my expertise was in family law and domestic violence. Not very long ago, while representing a client at the courthouse as a lawyer, my client was gunned down by the perpetrator of domestic violence. I became an advocate because I wanted to give a voice to the voiceless and make a difference in the lives of the families to protect the victims and their families. I bring so much knowledge and experience that I've had. In the 9 years that I've been on the bench, I have been efficient. I have given the time for every case because 65% of people that come before me cannot afford a lawyer. They come on their own. So I give them enough time so that they have their day in court and I'm able to grant them the relief they so well deserve. Just because they're not represented by a lawyer, I do not give them short shrift. I give each person their day in court.
Thank you.
So that is the reason why I would like to continue my service so I can make a difference in the lives of the families.
Thank you, Mr. Sousa. My next question will be for Mrs. Jefferson. Do you have any experience in civil district court? And if so, how many jury and judge trials have you tried at civil district court and how many were domestic?
Thank you. Sorry, I was on mute. Yes, so actually I have practiced extensively in civil district court, and as a matter of fact, has become a running joke that they are at some point going to install a room for me with a shower because I am there anywhere between 3 to 4 times a week representing clients. I've been doing that extensively since 2005 when I returned, well actually 2006 when I returned back to the city after evacuating for Hurricane Katrina. And so I would say if I had to give a number to the amount of judge trials that I've tried in civil district court, it would probably be somewhere in the hundreds or the thousands possibly. As it relates to jury trials, I don't have that much experience in jury trials because in family court, which is the bulk of my business and where I practice, there are no jury trials in family court. All of the trials that are conducted before the domestic unit are actually tried by a judge and not a jury. So I have extensive experience in civil district court as I have practiced there primarily since beginning my law practice in 2005. And then prior to that, before I started my own law practice, I actually worked for a small defense firm that I began working there in 2003 when I became licensed. And so I had a number of general litigation civil trials that I actually conducted as a private attorney.
Thank you, Ms. Jefferson. My next question will be from Mrs. DeSouza. Do you believe you have exhibited judicial temperament in your tenure as judge,
I have prided myself as being, of having the appropriate temperament, a very judicial temperament, a demeanor that is so welcoming to litigants and attorneys that come before me. I've always demanded that of me during my legal career, representing so many clients. I've had hundreds of clients when going into civil court because my practice was solely family law and domestic violence cases. I recognize the need to have a family court for our city. Before, there was no permanent domestic judge. Every newly elected judge handled the domestic docket. I led the charge with the legislature and community advocates to create this family court for our city. so that I have passion and dedication and the demeanor that is very demanding of me to exhibit that judicially.
Thank you, ma'am. And my next question is for Ms. Jefferson. Why are you seeking to unseat the incumbent, and why do you believe the voters of Orleans Parish should elect you?
So I, again, have practiced extensively in the domestic courts. Justice Souza is correct. That was the first dedicated domestic seat that we had. Prior to the establishment of that seat, we did have 3 domestic units, but those seats would continue to rotate as the new judges were elected. So there was definitely a need for the dedicated seats that we do have. Specifically as to why I am seeking election for this particular seat is because, again, in the private practice that I represent clients who have the means to afford an attorney, but I represent a great deal of clients who also do not have the means to afford attorneys. And quite frankly, they're working very hard and are most oftentimes on a payment plan with me to get the representation that they so desperately need to take care of the needs for their families. What I have seen is, and what I have experienced with my clients, is a great delay in some of the movement of this particular docket. I have also seen a great injustice that my clients are crying out to be remedied as it relates to the efficiency and the quality of impartiality as it relates to their needs being addressed. I believe that I'm a candidate that is supported by the people. I believe that I'm a candidate that the people are actually looking for because, quite frankly, the voters in this district are looking for a change. And I believe that I am that change because I am the candidate that is supported by the people.
Thank you, Ms. Jefferson. And my last question for Mrs. DeSouza. Why do you believe you have received opposition?
Well, just like Ms. Jefferson, I mean, I am totally surprised that I have opposition. I have dedicated my time, my life. I do agree that I do take time. I want to give everybody an opportunity to be heard in my court. I do not like to watch the clock. I let everybody present their issues. Like I said earlier, 65% of the people that come before me are hurting families. I have to listen to them. The dynamics that play in my court are rather emotionally charged. I don't look at the clock. I give everyone the due time that they have to be heard. I run a very efficient docket. I know these last 6 months have been really hard on me because I lost the love of my life that I was married to for 42 years. And it's been hard, but I've never ignored the people that come before me. I have the love, the passion, the dedication for the work I have done. 18 years at the legal aid office, caring for the community, for the people. I really stepped out in faith, in the hope of making a difference in the lives of our families by creating this court. This was the first dedicated seat that I decided to run because my clients at NOLAD Southeast wanted some consistency with having a judge that has the knowledge, the experience, the dedication, and caring. Yes, I'm surprised that I have opposition, which I didn't expect. But you know, this is democracy. So here I am asking for your support so that I can continue the work I started, the dedication that I have exhibited by bringing the programs to the court and implementing the best practices nationally. I've been recognized by my peers, and very recently, about in October of last year, I was elected as president of the National Association of Women Judges for the work that I have been doing over the years. It is the leading voice of women judges in the judiciary. And I hope to continue the good work that I started. And I ask for your support and your vote on November the 3rd. Thank you so very much.
Thank you both ladies. I'm about to turn it over to Mrs. Glapion. She has a few questions.
Thank you, ladies, for joining us tonight. I just have a few questions, and these questions are posed to both of you. And if we could answer in the order of Mr. Souza and then Ms. Jefferson. The first is a point of information. Have either of you been disciplined by the bar?
No, I have not.
Ms. Jefferson?
No, ma'am, I have not.
My next question is, specifically, what have you done in the last year, and this is specifically, what have you done in the last year as a contribution to the city's efforts for the advancement of your community? Mr. Souza?
What have I done for the advancement of the community?
Community service. What have you
Okay.
done specifically? And
I was appointed by the mayor on the board of the Total Community Action. TCA provides all of the resources that the community needs. The one resource that while attending the board meeting, I realized that there was this reentry program and found a way of how I could bring TCA into my court. So on Child Support Enforcement Day, I have a couple of people that come from TCA to talk to fathers if they are unemployed or formerly incarcerated. They receive job training and then eventually obtain jobs at either Sewerage and Water Board and the service industry. Unfortunately, due to COVID-19, times are hard and difficult on everybody. But I think in the last year, it has been such an amazing change with the way that rather than have the father or the mother incarcerated, which the law requires a judge to do, I have not to this day sent a person to jail for failure to pay child support. I give them an opportunity to come up with the amount, at least a minimum, to help the families. But I also found a way to how to get them trained and obtain gainful employment so they can provide for the children. And that has been one of my greatest achievements in the past year for the community.
thank you, Mr. Souza. Ms. Jefferson?
Yes, so I actually am a member of the Upper Room Bible Church, which is located in New Orleans East, where I actually serve as the minister of music there. So weekly, I actually lead the Voices of Praise that we have there. Additionally, we also have a food bank at the Upper Room Bible Church that I have always been a frequent volunteer of. And so as a result of the pandemic, there were a number of resources that Second Harvest Bank, which was the service provider for the food bank at my church, opened up to many other agencies. And so customarily during the pandemic, when the governor had the stay-at-home mandate, I worked weekly, sometimes 3 times during the week, to volunteer at different area food banks all over the city. Additionally, there is a barbershop series that I instituted where I would go into barbershops and beauty salons, would educate the public on what their legal rights were and the processes as it relates to family court in particular, because I found that a lot of times, just kind of talking to my clients, people just really didn't understand what the process was and they really didn't know the law. So I saw it on Saturdays and I'd go into barbershops and beauty salons just to kind of help people and answer any questions that they may have. I also would partner up with different churches in the city where we would provide notary services to the elderly and to some of the congregants, and then also provide free legal advice for them at least like once or twice a month, because people had questions about powers of attorney and wills and trusts and successions. So over the past year, and quite frankly, throughout the entirety of my law career, I have customarily been involved in the community, just making sure that people know what their rights are as it relates to the legal process, and then also what their rights are as to voter registration, because I saw a need.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Dawn, that's all that we have.
Okay, well, thank you, ladies. We really appreciate you coming on at this time. So good luck in your campaigns. And again, thank you for joining us.